Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, and we've got financials, we've got mobile. Wait, what? Yeah, we've got mobile, but not in the way you think. And then we're going to take a look at some pesky Lootbox shenanigans that might be used to stave off some incoming regulation. Joining me to go over all of it, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling great because my predictions are I'm knocking them out this year.
You really are. You really are. I think we've only had one falter so far, and it's just a maybe falter.
Yeah, not yet. It technically hasn't yet, so.
Technically has not faltered yet, and that's the Save the World going free to play this year. You said no way, and it still could, but it hasn't. So you're still batting 1,000 right now.
Come on, game, don't come out. Yeah.
Well, we've got that, and we've got some other stuff to go through. Just Jason and I, because we're going to talk a lot of business stuff. And Q kind of looked at the show notes and was like, yeah, this isn't my cup of tea. I don't really have a lot to offer here. So we're going to carry it ourselves. Let's slide over, get started with the news. All right, so we've been following Lootbox shenanigans all over the world for a while. It's come up on the last two shows. And although, to be fair, the last two shows we were kind of talking about the whole concept of monetization, not just loot boxes, but they were a key part of it. This past week, however, we did have finally the FTC had its little sit down where they invited a bunch of people. Jason, are you going to be covering this for the site, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I'm totally there. Actually, I mean, it's like probably in D.C. It's probably like just down the road from me. So I sort of, if I was invited.
No, I mean what they heard.
Like, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much this, yeah, whatever.
I honestly don't know if you had written this up for the site yet or not.
No, not a separate write-up for that other stuff they talked about. It's pretty much the same stuff, yeah.
Okay, so they had their little sit-down. Now, remember, we talked a little while ago that the FTC, they were asked by senators to kind of investigate. That's kind of started. The ball is rolling. They brought in, basically, you could apply to be a panelist there and be talked to, depending on what your credentials were. They had a bunch of representatives from, of course, the ESA and some of its members, and then some people that are very anti-loot box and microtransactions and all that stuff. So all the sides were represented here. But before we get to what might have actually, been born out of this from the ESA and from some key players in the industry, first let's take a little bit of a review, Jason, on what was presented to the FTC, because they kind of got the gamut from one end of the other to this is totally fine to this is absolutely 100% nefarious and manipulative to, hey, there's certain reasons why we do things and it may not look great, but it's not nefarious. So like the old psychological tricks of pricing things at 99 cents or $1.99 instead of $2. And then things we've already brought up on this show, like the, everything costs 800 mystery tokens, but you can't buy 800 mystery tokens. So all those types of tricks really were brought to the attention here of the FTC.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you pretty well just covered it all. Like, various people offer, obviously the ESA offering, hey, this is a good thing. This is something we do to, help with our companies, and also to provide games as cheaper. Like it even said too, overall, having like a free-to-play game that does this sort of thing per person is still cheaper. And I can believe that's correct because a lot of, 85% of people don't spend money in it. It's out of the 15% who do, who, ratchet it up. But overall, the cost might be a little less than if you're just charging everybody $20 to get in the door. So that's one of the things they talked about. Hey, it's cheaper than ever to play these games now, which, okay, sort of. I know I'm a cheapskate. I don't buy a whole lot of stuff, so it kind of is for me. But then, you have people on the other side of it saying, comparing that to things like packs of Magic the Gathering or baseball cards or whatever, and saying that they can't. One of the things they brought up, especially, they can't manipulate that. Wizards of the Coast can't say, if you buy a pack of Magic the Gathering, your next and you don't get a good card, we can give you a better chance of a good card in the next pack. No, because all the packs are individually packaged, shipped out, do that sort of thing. But one of the things that came up during the meeting was in an electronic medium, they can manipulate odds one way or another to try and get you to play something, to try and get you to buy more packs. Another thing they can do is they talked about matchmaking. Some companies might do matchmaking that puts you in a match with people who have the cool stuff, whether it's fancy looking clothes or actual like in-game advantage kind of stuff like cards in a CCG. They can match you into that. You see that stuff, you go, oh, I wish I had that. Let me go to the cash shop now. So a lot of tricks beyond just the notion of, hey, gamble boxes are at play here. And in theory, the FTC heard about all that from everybody and didn't. There's no notion of them coming to an actual decision, but something else did come out of it, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, and there's news on that front, too. I don't know if you'd seen this article. Also, by the way, the article we're talking about, kind of summing up what was presented, credit where due, comes from GameIndustry.biz. That's why I asked Jason, are you going to do a little, like, synopsis of this? Brendan Sinclair, I think you should, because there's a couple other articles on GameIndustry.biz. One of them relates exactly to what we're going to be talking about in just a second. Also posted today, that one by Rebecca Valentine. So kudos where due on both of those. One of the things that I kind of hated seeing in the evidence that was presented to them, Jason, was they made the argument that we make in MMOs, right? Where is my immersion? You know, where is my immersion? Yeah. And they actually presented that argument when it came to why you would use alternate currencies, why you would use things like that. And this was, I'm trying to get exactly who said it. Warnecki. This is, I believe, who said
that's
this.
That's the ESA guy, the Chief Council of Tech Policy.
Yeah. So first they were trying to say, hey, the reason things are priced in bundles and stuff like that is it's impractical to go to the store every time you want to spend 99 cents or $1. Plus, financially, with fees and things from credit cards and stuff like that, it doesn't always benefit the developer to be offering things for 99 cents or $1. Okay, and you know what? I'll go with you on that far. I've run businesses enough to know that there's X percentage on transactions from Visa or MasterCard or Discover or whoever you're using. Okay, I'm going to let that one slide. I don't like the argument. It doesn't actually justify why you have these odd bundles on, okay, fine, if you don't want to sell me something for $1, great. But if something costs $10 in-game, I need to be able to buy $10 worth of currency. Stop leaving me with that psychological ploy of, hey, you have 200, that thing you want only costs 6. If you bought 4 more, you know, that I hate that shit, and it doesn't deal with that. But here's the immersion argument that I liked. Sarcastically, like. But there's another reason, too, and that's to preserve narrative integrity. Our members try to create games that are engaging and are true to their world. Say you had a game set in ancient Egypt and you wanted to buy a chariot for a big combat that was going to come up, and you went to the marketplace in Thebes. You would not want to be buying a chariot for $2.50 US. It would make it a little jolting and a little bit odd. So instead, a publisher will make it with a historically appropriate monetary currency, such as a deben of copper, which would fit in more with the game. Fuck you, that is not why they do it at all. At all. It's the whole idea of obfuscating how much these items actually cost in a real life currency. You can't go, that skin is $5 because the currency conversion isn't as direct as, in some games, you know, 500 debens of copper equals $5 and that chariot's $5. Okay, fine. And some games, to their credit, do it exactly like that. A point a penny. We've seen particularly in a lot of free-to-play games. But then where they kind of screw you up is that nothing ever costs an even dollar amount.
I talked about that when I covered Steel Circus and that thing the other day. Like they're, what was it? I think it was 600 for a skin, and they only buy the smallest package you can buy is 650. I was like, come on, guys.
Warnecki also went on to talk about what you were talking in comparison to Magic the Gathering, right? Those drop rates can't be adjusted after the fact, where they can be in game. Warnecki goes to bat for that one, literally goes to bat, saying that there's innocent reasons for that, and gives the example of baseball players in baseball games. If they have, you know, a great month or something in real life and the game's able to update those stats to make the player a little better right now, becoming a little better might then bump them into the next rarity category. Again, Fuck you. Are you kidding me?
Well, now there was the time when I was playing Hearthstone, and a dragon had a really good July, so then it became a lot harder to get the next month. I mean, that dragon was just killing stuff left and right, so I mean, it made sense they would update it.
Well, and then they said, in fact, if you had a sports game that you didn't continually update it to reflect that, consumers would be upset by that experience. Screw you. Baseball, hockey games, and all that stuff, having updatable rosters is a very, relatively speaking, new thing in video games to begin with. And that doesn't mean that if you're going to have updated rosters and updated stats in line with the real sports season, that they have to automatically now, hey, like you sit there, you almost see them, Jason, like, oh my God, hope LaDainian Tomlinson has a great 3 weeks, because if he goes up 1 point, he's in legend status, baby. Like, it's felt so grimy, some of these defenses. And I get somebody's got to defend it, right? Okay, fine. But some of these were just so grimy. I can't
They're just relying on the congressman they're talking to not know what the hell they're talking about, I think.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Absolutely. So what came out of this? Well, it didn't come directly out of this, but out of this, I mean, the whole discussion happening and the ball starting to roll very quickly here. Like, we saw the trickle effect from Belgium a year and a half, 2 years ago to, hey, all of a sudden, there's a whole conference in front of the FTC about this, and nobody wants to freaking be there from the ESA. But here's the maybe good news, Jason. We might, as we predicted many times, have some bit of self-regulation coming into the picture here. What's going on?
So, as you said, like before this actually went down, before they actually met, I believe the ESA put out a statement saying that they are going to do something about this. First of all, I agree with the whole notion of they're just self-serving dipshits, really, because the way they started the statement, they're all like, as an industry, we take our role in this conversation seriously. We plan to underscore the FTC's. Oh, that's right. It says here in the statement, we plan to underscore to the FTC our industry's deep connection to our community and shared desire to work with policymakers, parents, and players to provide the information they need for a positive game experience. This includes the important work the industry has done to create robust parental controls. We're doing it for you. It's all for you, guys. So that part of the statement alone, I just tried to wave through that because I felt like I needed a shower after reading all that.
A good call.
But the meat of it is it says here that several video game industry leaders are announcing new initiatives to help consumers make informed choices about their purchases, including loot boxes. The major console makers, Sony Interactive Entertainment, operator of PlayStation, Microsoft, operator of Xbox and Windows, and Nintendo, operator of the Nintendo Switch gaming platform, are committing to new platform policies that will require paid loot boxes in games developed for their platforms to disclose information on the relative rarity or probability of obtaining randomized virtual items. These required disclosures will also be applied to game updates if the update includes new loot box features. Precise timing of this disclosure requirement is still being worked out, but the console makers are targeting 2020 for the implementation of the policy. So, we're going to get loot box odds. Woohoo!
All right. So let's start breaking this one down, because that, on its surface, face value, forget the bullshit reasons that they're doing it. We all know they're doing it to stave off legislation. Oh, yeah. That's the purpose. It's like the creation of the ESRB. It wasn't because the goodness of their heart they were looking out.
No,
for
they
kids.
have a deep connection to the community and shared desire to work with us. Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're doing it to stave off legislation. But let's take a peek here, and just on the surface, is that a good thing? Well, I think you would agree, Jason, that, yeah, just that.
Sure.
Looking at it, face value, forget all the bullshit around it. Is it good to have those odds? Yes, because now we enter the realm of a magic pack. I can look at the odds and say, this isn't something I even want to mess with. My odds are terrible. I can look at it and say, and if those odds change, I'll be able to see that too. So there's some good there. Now, here's the thing. As far as the larger overall picture of microtransactions as a whole, this only caters a solution for one little item, and it's not even really a solution. We're not taking them out. We're not making them better drop rates or whatever. Well, they may, because once the odds are publicized, it's when you put a lot of zeros after a decimal point and then a 1, I think that starts to piss people off. But this is just such a small piece of the microtransactions problem that although I can look at it and say, hey, that's good, you could tell that this doesn't actually address the issue. It's just more of a disclosure of the issue, I guess would be a good way to describe it.
I mean, I think the overall meeting with the FTC was about loot boxes specifically and not microtransactions as a whole. So, it does address that.
Although they did present them with like the advertising and the obfuscating of how much you're actually spending. All that stuff. So it wasn't just loot boxes. Yeah,
it is. However, it is kind of the bare minimum that would need to be done. It's like they're giving an inch and hoping it'll be enough because, it's like a couple of years ago when I was talking about this. I've written an article. You can go back. I found an article I wrote in 2014 about this, about how they should at least reveal odds. And I have a picture of a baseball card pack. I tweeted that out. I actually tweeted that out just like yesterday to show people a few things. And the thing of it is, when I did that a little while back, a friend of mine who works in the gaming industry said to me, "What does it matter?" And I was like, "Well, because again, people make informed choices." And he's like, "Really? Have you ever decided to play a game or bought a pack of cards, or whatever, based on the odds that are in that, or do you just say, I want to play this game, and if there are loot boxes, whatever, I know my odds are crappy, I don't care." And it's a good point.
No, it is a good point, but and Final Fantasy, the trading card game, is something I'm really into right now. So perfect example. It's the Magic the Gathering example with a Final Fantasy skin, right? The rarity of the cards. But I think it's a bit different in the respect that, one, I know my odds. Two, I'm dealing with really, really limited sets of things, right? So when a new set comes out, I'm talking about 130 cards total, 70 or 80 of which are going to be common and 30 of which are going to be rare, and I'm going to have buckets of those by the time this is all said and done. I'm really only talking about 14 legendary cards. How many skins are in Fortnite? How many, the pool is so freaking vast. Sure. And I'll tell you what, if the odds were worse, it might actually turn me off from playing the physical card game just like it does in the digital world. If I'm not getting the things that I want, and so I feel like I'm spending money and just not getting what I need or what I want, I'm not going to play the game long. So I can see the odds never did anything for you as far as Magic the Gathering pack, but there are people that if they couldn't get the cards they wanted, they just quit. They just quit the game.
But by that point, they've already bought a lot of cards and not got what they want. They've already given you the money, so who cares about those freeloaders? I mean, the other thing, too, that people brought up, too, is, again, you and I can make those decisions. We're adults. We have, some knowledge of math. Right. What about those 12-year-olds or 8-year-olds or whatever who got their mom's credit card or whatever? Does this do anything to stop them from buying 500 loot boxes? And it doesn't. So can people really make it? And even if you are pretty good at math, you're going to say, well, this is again. Let me grab that image of that box that I've got. Like you're not going to be able to see it, but I'll just start reading it. I'll just start reading this baseball card box. It says, approximate odds for packs of finding. Base card parallels, Golden Moments Wood 1 in 4,825, Platinum 1 in 4,825, Golden Moments Autograph 1 in 33. This goes on for like 25 different things. Are you really going to go, well, let's see now. If I buy 18 packs, I've got a 3.1% chance of getting this.
Right.
And a 0.06% chance of that. It's like there's so much there. A lot is going to depend on how they can present that information in the game. So even then, if they'll say, "Oh, the numbers are all here. It's all there. You guys have to figure it out." That's maybe not going to be enough for them. I don't know.
Right, and we already do other things. Like, remember last year the ESRB added the in-app or in-game purchases.
I've never noticed that
label to a game. Not only have we never noticed it, but Jim Sterling, to his credit, on one of his most recent videos, pointed out the huge flaw with that. They're not implementing the shops till after launch. Then You know, they just bypass that. And not only do they do it for that reason, but then they also do it for review purposes too, right? You can't review something that's not there. So like, what disclosing the odds? Are people going to see it? Now we know the big three are behind this. I think the bigger one that we need to ask about is, where's Valve?
Yeah, whereas Valve and Steam, Steam is almost the fourth console in a way. And even,
Right.
You could toss in other Electronic Arts and Origin and GOG and so forth. Although there actually there was a lengthy list of other publishers in ESA that have also agreed. It says here, several of ESA's publisher members have already disclosed relative rarity or probability of obtaining in-game virtual items from purchased loot boxes, and other major publishers have agreed to do so no later than the end of 2020. Together, these publishers include Activision Blizzard, Bandai Namco Entertainment, Bethesda, Bungie, Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, and Wizards of the Coast. So it does have a lot of big names there, but yeah, like you mentioned, Valve is one that's not mentioned. Riot Games isn't on there. NCSoft, Tencent, those are all listed on the ESA as part of the ESA site as part of the ESA. So are they going to also jump on board and do the same thing? I don't know.
So, would people be in favor of that? Well, yeah, sure, disclosing the odds is good, but from Consumer Reports, Anna Leitinen comes back right after and says, not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. And has some, hey, guess what, compelling arguments that Jason and I have already made on this show. One of which being, a kid is not going to make any better decision just because odds have been disclosed. Jason, you said that right off the bat, basically.
Which I'll admit I mostly got from reading some article. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah.
Also, nobody from Keith White, nobody in the gambling issue would ever trust a slot machine manufacturer to self-certify that their machines and the odds and randomness of their machines perform as they say. So once again, yeah, you kind of go, okay, that's cool that you disclose the odds. Wait a minute. The people making the odds are the ones disclosing the odds. Trust us? They drop at this rate?
Look, I'll just put it out there right now. Any viewer who wants to send me $1, I give you a 1 in 50 chance I'll send you back $1,000. Really, I will. I promise.
Yeah, and again, you pointed out the math being an issue, not just with, okay, how many of these damn tokens do I need to buy in the cheapest way possible to get what I want, but in the general public, there is a huge gap in just people understanding how odds work. You know, that type of stuff in simple dimensions. So lots of feedback on this. Jason, probably, yeah, I think you should do a little sum up article.
I have had an editorial in mind that I've just sort of reading everything and thinking about how I'm going to put it together.
Yeah. So those two articles we were talking about are available on Games Industry. Check out MMO Bomb a little later, or today or tomorrow, for kind of Jason's thoughts on those. But it's going to be interesting as hell to watch. That's the interesting part. Like, what
see where
happens
it goes from here
now? Yeah. And I really think Steam / Valve, they need to make a statement soon, because they're conspicuously absent right now. And I can understand why they want to be, but they probably can't.
They're still dealing with the Counter-Strike gambling crap or whatever.
Speaking
skin betting.
Yeah, we're going to talk about something else here, Valve related, in a minute. Just kind of funny. We'll throw it in at the end. Team Fortress 2 related. But let's take a look at financials very quickly here. Now, let's go to NCSoft first, because this one's actually pretty easy, Jason. NCSoft, hey, Lineage was doing good. They might be doing some stuff with Guild Wars 2, and hey, we're still making money.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only real surprise was Lineage, like, almost doubling 2.5 times what its revenue was. It had a really down last quarter. Hopped way the heck up there. They probably had some program or I kind of like skim through that stuff when I read the financial reports. Like, oh, there was some big giveaway or whatever this quarter, and that's why we're so huge. And then they drop down like way the heck down here next quarter.
I mean, they had to be, because Q2 2019 was the biggest of the last 5 quarters, and it was, you know, a 150% higher than Q1 of this year. So some event, Lineage fans over the ponds, let us know what the hell happened.
Oh, the remaster update and monetization revamp. That's what it said.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Blade and Soul, kind of dipping down. Ion just chugging along at the usual rates. Lineage 2 chugging along. Mobile games up a little bit, and Guild Wars 2 down a little bit over last quarter, but pretty much right on par with the last 3. So, I mean, it's just kind of business as usual from NCSoft's perspective.
For the most part, yeah. Until you actually like listen to some call that they made.
Right. When they started talking about some, let's say, unique things, Jason, fill us in.
So they also have, of course, an investors call where they let various media members, or I guess it's mostly like people working at investment firms, ask some questions and so forth. It takes a while to go through it because the person asked the question in Korean, which is then translated in English for the speaker, for listeners, and the executive answers in Korean, and then that person, the translator, does it again in English. So it takes like 10 minutes to get through a 3-minute question. So one of the questions was, any plans that the company has for Guild Wars 2 as a mobile title, because mobile is doing so well for NCSoft, and they've got Lineage, and I think something else was. I think Lineage 2, I think is going to be a mobile title. So the guy just asked, "Hey,
and
Guild Wars 2
Blade
mobile?
and Soul has
Blade and Soul, that's it."
The mobile thing too.
And the response that came through the translator was, "Right now at ArenaNet, there are various considerations and various options that we are currently reviewing, and there are prototypes that are being built as a result of that. As of now, it would be difficult to say, yes, we are going to have a mobile, or we're not going to have a mobile version of Guild Wars 2, because again, right now we're in a phase which we're exploring all the options that would be available. For example, the Guild Wars 2 mobile, or maybe with limited resources, where they're pursuing something of a different nature or a different project that would be better, is still something that is under review, so that is where we sit as of today."
Which is really interesting, to say the least. Like most of these other things, like the Lineage and Blade and Soul things that we spoke about, they were offshoots. Like Blade and Soul is not Blade and Soul, it's Blade and Soul Revolution. So it takes, IP characteristics from Blade and Soul, puts it in a bit of a different package. Lineage doing the same thing. Presumably, Jason, I think that would not mean that Guild Wars 2 would become mobile, but that something Guild Wars 2 IP related would become mobile. But it does kind of make you wonder, would you play Guild Wars 2, something like that, or Final Fantasy 14 or something, if it had the mobile capability? And I don't know about you, my answer would be no. I wouldn't. Now, I know a lot of people probably would, but I just wouldn't. From my mobile gaming, which is very, very little, I'm not a huge fan of mobile gaming in general. It is, I want the 5 and 10 minutes and done type mobile gaming. Play a few Hands of Hearts and call it a day type deal. I am just not a mobile gamer enough to really ever want my hardcore MMOs to be mobile.
I mean, there are mobile MMOs, like full MMORPGs.
Oh, yeah.
Full on there. They exist, but they are relatively small. You have games that do mobile stuff that we cover as on a MOBA. I mean, like your World of Tanks or whatever. They have mobile stuff. There are MOBAs that are mobile as well, and I think a lot of that has to do also with the amount of controls. In those kind of games, you got 4 to 6 buttons at most, so you can kind of keep those on your screen and poke them, or maybe if you have some sort of, I guess you can't really do anything else. You can't really probably hook up a joystick or anything.
You get, when in the MMO space, you get games like Adventure Quest 3D.
Sure.
Which is cross-platform.
I mean, RuneScape, granted, does a really good job on mobile.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, for the most part, it's just not the sort of thing you see. And I think part of it is the controls, and part of it is that you just kind of, again, something like RuneScape, it looks so old-fashioned that you kind of don't mind it so much on a mobile device as opposed to something with full-on 3D graphics and whatever 4K or whatever you want on your monitor and so forth. So I think it's a little tough, even for a game that's kind of gone on in years a little bit like Guild Wars 2. I think it's kind of tough to imagine that full experience being on mobile.
On the other side of the financials equation, right around the same time, we always get NCSoft and NEXON. And so following up, let's go to NEXON, let's talk about their purchase first, Jason. They just spent money and bought an entire studio, Embark Studios. And this really, I don't think was all that unexpected, right?
Yeah, now did they actually spend money, or did they spend like 25 million
right.
25 million Swedish kroner? That's what it is. Yeah, kroner coins or whatever, because it would be a lore appropriate for them to do that. But anyway. But yeah, Embark Studios is a company founded by Patrick Soderlund, formerly of BioWare, or no, of EA, sorry. And yeah, it says they increased their share of it. And I don't want Nexon to be mad at me for missaying something.
Right. Well,
So the
technically, they
exact thing they
didn't.
said.
Technically didn't buy the whole thing
Yeah, yeah.
yet.
They
They have
they
controlling share right now, with the option to buy the remaining
right,
shares
right.
over the next 5 years. But it's an acquisition.
Basically, they're in control of it. And Patrick Soderlund has actually been on the board of directors of Nexon now since November. So it makes a little sense that then he would take that extra step and bring his company fully under the umbrella of Nexon. So good for them. I mean, what they're working on, it sounds really neat. Not only the game, but their platform that will let anyone create interactive experiences. That sounds pretty neat too. Nexon getting in, I guess, on the ground floor of that basically, and hoping to build it up from there.
This didn't turn out very well when they decided to help out the breach teams.
Yeah, the last time Nexon got involved with someone from EA, and
Yeah, that didn't pan out all that well. But okay, so Nexon shelling out some money to acquire a company that's doing some cool free-to-play action game and something with a platform. Great. All right, good. Things are going well for Nexon. Oops, they're shutting down to North American offices here. So we talked about a restructuring that may be happening, kind of combining mobile and PC, and then we talked about them not renewing the license for Riders of Icarus and reverting that to a different publisher. And it seems like that particular restructuring, which was just a rumor, that's actually true, because Nexon is consolidating its mobile and PC console publishing business into one publishing unit to better support both mobile and PC console live games, and to also position ourselves for the recent trend of platform convergence. And what that means is that two of the company's California-based subsidiaries are closing down, Nexon M and Nexon's Division Partners Office. Not good news for North American employees of Nexon. Although I think if you're a North American employee working for Nexon, you've probably been a little worried about your job for a while.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So how did the financials come out then for Q2, Jason? They spent a bunch of money and are going to presumably take their option and spend some more money over the next 5 years to complete the acquisition. They're shutting down some stuff, so there goes some expenses, although we won't really see the monetary benefit of shutting it down. By the way, our condolences to those losing their jobs. We probably won't see that on the ledger until Q3 now. So how was Q2? Seems like Nexon's got to be having a pretty good go of it.
Best ever.
Of course, just like Q1.
And I think Q4 beyond that was record the same thing as well. But yeah, it's every quarter is a record-setting quarter. That's exactly what they said at the start of it. Record-setting Q2. Now it was their best ever Q2, not their best ever quarter ever in terms of revenue. And yeah, this and I say it definitely wasn't the best ever quarter because they brought in 53.9 billion yen in Q2. And in Q1, they brought in 93.1 billion yen.
That doesn't seem right.
Okay, but apparently that was because there was, like, again, just like with talking about Lineage going up and down when there's a big thing going on. Well, in Q1 they had a really big deal with a Dungeon Fighter. Was there a Lunar New Year chess or whatever, loot or program or whatever? So that of course came down some, and now it's back to normal. And Q3, they actually are not predicting a better record-breaking Q3 for a change.
No, they're not. They're kind of setting it up almost like we saw this with Square Enix back when we were with Game Breaker, remember? When they were going to net like a bajillion-dollar loss on the year. They front-ended that news like a full quarter and a half ahead of time, where it wasn't the typical, hey, we think making projections might be a little challenging, when you're like, all right, they're probably going to come up a little short. They were pretty much just like, hey, expect a year-over-year decrease. Boom, 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 in all these different spots on their financial
Look, a few weeks ago, I read through the last 10 years of Funcom's financial reports. I know how that goes. Oh my God, when Secret World came out, they're like, everything is terrible. But please, don't fire us. We're executives. We know what we're doing.
Now, you may think that I was being a little mean when I said if you were a Nexon North American employee, you've probably been worried about your job for a while. But if you think I was being mean, let me share this with you. China takes up about just slightly under 40% of the earnings, the money that Nexon brought in, with Korea right behind it at 36. I'm not going to read you the full list, but North America as a whole accounts for 7%. 7%. It's just not when you, like, in my brain, because I'm so ingrained in the MMO world, Jason, Nexon is a huge company. And they are. They are a huge company. But they're really not, as far as the United States, Canada goes. They're really not a big player in our side, even though you and I see them as everyday names because we do this for a living.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at MapleStory 2's numbers on Steam charts, and
Not looking good.
Well, let's put it this way: the first month it came out was 20,000. Last July was 909.
All right.
So
weird news from Nexon. Q2 best ever. 15th best ever in a row. I'm being facetious. Nexon, please do not email me telling me that you did not claim you were the best ever for 15 quarters. I know you did not claim you were the best ever for 15 quarters. I am having a little fun at your hyperbole. Two cool things that I just think are funny before we wrap up and go to the bombs here. First off, Riot actually has a fighting game in the works here. And you might not be surprised by this if you remember things that Jason and I totally forgot at the time we saw this. So Riot Games bought a developer back in 2016 called Stonehearth. They were working at the time on a fighting game, which was canceled. Maybe. Because now all of a sudden, Riot is working with them on, guess what? A fighting game. And we don't know if it'll be free to play or anything like that yet. We assume it probably will have some free aspect given that it's Riot. But it's a fighting game. So did their first project really die, Jason? Or did it just, hey, we like what you're doing, let's take your characters out and put League of Legends characters in? You know, like, is that what happened here?
look, back when I was working at Press Pass, actually, when I was working on the Full Metal Alchemist trading card game, the guys who did the EverQuest trading card game, online trading card game, which I think was canceled around then. Oh no, wait, no, sorry, yeah, it is those guys. But when we were there, they presented us with the prototype of a game of a CCG based on Auto Assault, the NCSoft MMO from the car-based one.
Wow, okay.
Never went anywhere. A few years later, they came out with something else. I think maybe that was maybe that's how it went. Maybe that was the EverQuest game, and it was Auto Assault. It was that exact same game I played prototypes of. So
just different skins.
Yep, this sort of thing definitely does happen. So that could be what it is.
Now, to be fair, they're saying that project was canceled. This is a different project, but who knows? So be on the lookout for Riot's fighting game. Here's the thing, though, Jason. Fighting games don't generally go free to play. I mean, we got Killer Instinct, right? I mean, that was tremendous as a free-to-play game. What other? I mean, they mostly just put in, like, one or two characters that you can fight as many times for free, and then you got to buy everything else anyway. They don't.
There's a Dead or Alive one too.
Yeah, it doesn't really translate well into the free-to-play market. So
Why doesn't it though? Like, why not have, like, at least they say you make like 20 characters and like 8 of them are free, and you can have to grind up.
That's not what they do. They make 2 free.
Well, then why? Why the f not?
There are exceptions out there, by the way. Let's look up.
Make it like a brawling game, like a Brawlhalla or something.
Games. Yeah. But those I kind of put in a different bucket. Like, when I say fighting game, I'm thinking like
about Street Fighter,
Killer Instinct, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, even Dungeon Fighter Online, people are going to put that into the fighting category, like you just did with Brawlhalla. But to me, those are kind of those are a little bit different.
That's like why every ARPG has to have this Tetris inventory. No, you don't. You don't have to. I don't care if Diablo did it.
I mean, Street Fighter's got so much monetization in it, and so does the latest Mortal Kombat. They might as well be free to play for the base games. Yeah. All right, before the bombs, Jason, you're gonna have to bring me up. I was not watching this at all, but apparently Team Fortress 2's like economy just went to shit because of a hat bug.
Well, a loot box bug technically. So apparently, when they brought in their new patch a couple weeks ago, introduced a bug that let unusual items, which is like their highest rarity, I think. I mean, it might not be their highest. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty rare. But the title of it is unusual. They dropped at a rather unexpected rate, and it's by which I mean a lot more than they were supposed to. So this being, Team Fortress 2 on Valve with the marketplace and whatever, because loot boxes totally aren't gambling.
Unusual looks to be about in the middle.
Okay.
Wow, that is a lot of rarities. Normal, unique, vintage, genuine, strange, unusual, haunted, collectors, decorated, community, self-made, and Valve.
I think some of those might be like for limited time.
Yeah,
like
limited time type stuff.
Halloween
Yeah. So, but unusual is about the middle of that list.
Okay.
There.
But anyway, so people, got a lot of them and said, well, hey, this is dropping us so much. Let me throw it on the marketplace and get a few bucks or whatever. Of course, everybody did that with the thousands or millions that they got, completely tanking the economy of the game. So Valve stepped in and said, all right, can't post any of it. We're hot fix. It was so important it even made them post to Twitter, which they hadn't done in like a year and a half. But they posted about how they were completely shutting off the marketplace for a while.
So this is all fixed now?
Yeah, it's all fixed now. Now, if you bought a bunch of those, if you got all your hats, first everything like comes back to your inventory. I think that's what it is. Let's see.
That's so amazing.
Well,
it's just like hats were the end of them.
Well, it is Team Fortress 2 here. But the point is, what they've done is they made it so that the first hat you got, if you bought these boxes and got a bunch of hats, the first hat you got can be tradable, just like normal, just like anything. Anyone after that is basically bound to your account. So you can't just throw on 50 of them and now, get money.
But if you don't want to keep them, you can get a refund.
You can get a refund for the various crates or whatever, for the keys you bought and so forth, which is supposed to be implemented any time. They said in about a week's time, and that was about a week ago. So there you go. And the good news is, if you open some of these and got it, and if you weren't the kind of guy who was really trying to exploit this, some people might have opened them and like deleted them, thinking, "Oh crap, I'm doing this wrong," and they're gonna get me. They're gonna ban my account. And then Valve's like, "No, it's okay. We're gonna put those back in your inventory, so don't worry about it."
Yep, you'll get them back, and if you want refunds, you can go get them. Yeah, I got to give them this. It was handled quickly, and it was handled the right way at the end of the day. There was no, hey, you're asked out, you glitched this, you took advantage of a bug. They were just like, hey, this one's on us, let's fix it. Kudos to them. Very funny, like the game that's all about hats. Hats wrecks the economy. Love it. Love it. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs. I'll go first. I'm giving a dub bomb to Brawlhalla. We mentioned it a little earlier, but not for that reason. I just wanted to say that I really enjoy a game that just adds whoever the hell they want to the game. I mean, we've seen Rayman and others making it, and now we're going to have some WWE superstars, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and John Cena, entering the fray, along with two others as well. So, yeah, sure. Why not? Who cares? They just the Brawlhalla character lineup, and when my son is playing it because he plays it on the PlayStation 4, I'm always delighted to see who the hell's is that Rayman? Oh my God, that's awesome.
Is that Hellboy?
Right. Just what do we need? What do we need? We need more characters. Well, let's not create any. Let's see if WWE will license us some. And I gotta say, gotta speak well of the game, right, Jason? As far as how it's doing, if they can afford to license for WWE superstars likeness.
Funny
that's not free.
I just looked at it on Steam charts, and they keep rising. They keep going up. Like they're 7,000-8,000. They're like I remember interviewing them at PAX South. I want to say 2016.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, and they would have been 4,000 to 5,000 back then, averaging. And now they're up around 8,000. So they just keep.
And that's just Steam.
Yeah.
My son plays on my middle son Steven. He plays on the PS4, and never a problem getting a match. Never. So kudos to them. Good job. Keep it up.
They do have Zach's evil twin there. Instead of Zach Sharps, his name is Zeke Sparks. So easy to get them confused.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm just giving an A-bomb to the New Orleans Saints for like suing the NFL over a bad call in the championship game last year, and they just keep doing it, and they aren't letting go. They just let it go, guys.
It was a terrible call, though.
It was a terrible call.
Awful.
But you don't sue the NFL and try to get the game replayed and all that crap. No.
Hey, at the end of this season, we could have two Super
pain.
Bowls. We could have two Super Bowls at the end of this year. This year's and a replay of last year's.
Exactly.
From the viewers, Jonathan Lang, a name I haven't heard in a while.
Seems
but
familiar to me somehow.
It should. Jonathan has commented on free-to-play casts many years ago, from when I started with MMO Bomb, and then when I was at Gamebreaker, and you were here doing it with Spunkify. Jonathan's been around for a while. Jonathan Lang, Magic Man, it's so good to see you still doing the show. Jason also. I've been in Southeast Asia, wifed up now, but I need to get back on my MMOs. Always happy to see you still rocking. Jonathan, it is good to hear from you. I hope everything is good there in Southeast Asia and with the wife. Congrats. Go ahead.
Two things on that. Jonathan, let us know what the hot games are now in Southeast Asia, because they might come over here eventually.
No, they won't. They never do.
Oh, yeah, it's well.
We're still waiting for
Fantasy
Lost
Star
Ark.
Online 2 can make it.
We're still waiting for Lost Ark too.
That's true. The other point I was saying is like, yeah, it's good to see me still doing here, and part of me is thinking, God, I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere else.
Go ahead, sir.
Rick Shaw says, "Great show, guys. I did move to Mixer too."
That's probably why Ninja did it.
Did you get $20 million or whatever?
No, I think Ninja did it because Rickshaw left.
Oh, okay. Right.
I think that's why. Ganny J, this might be a bit controversial, but I'm against the killing of developers under any circumstances, even if the game is still trash at the end of the day, Quinlan. Edit, if you must kill the developers, though, at least please try to use their code when you're finished. So, Q, no killing of developers. Jason, finish it off there.
Kill them, raise them as zombies, and put them in your next game.
Yes.
All right, Squeezy says, "Closed beta bomb to Torchlight Frontiers. I played a little in CB3, and the game is fairly optimized with few bugs. Better than most games, bless. Released recently. That was him putting it in there, by the way, not me. He mentioned bless.
He or she. I'm not sure on Squeezy.
That's true. Okay. There's still as much that can be done in terms of gameplay, as the classes are a tad unbalanced and the AI's attack patterns are predictable and slow. Unfortunately, I don't see Torchlight Frontiers being a game that you can play solo, as it gets boring quite fast unless you are goofing around with some friends. Torchlight is the same grind-oriented style as Warframe and PoE, but the gameplay at the moment is far less involving. I didn't go very far into the game as I got bored and lacked motivation to grind, closed beta after all. And maybe the end game might be more exciting, but that doesn't mean that the beginning has to be super boring. Am I right, Jason? Yeah. Extra for the cast, help me decide whether a closed beta bomb is good or bad."
I gotta say, I agree with an awful lot of what Squeezy you put in there, particularly on the lack of motivation. Something we talked about on this show when we did the first look review is that I just really didn't want to go any further. I'm okay with repetitive and grindy. I like ARPGs. I like looter shooters, and that is all built on. Hell, I like Phantasy Star and Phantasy Star Online too. Those are built on grinding and repetition. But yeah, Torchlight Frontiers, I'm still eagerly awaiting its launch, but it just didn't grab me in the beta, and I'm hoping that that's just a beta thing. So in my book, I'd say a closed beta bomb is bad at the moment. Jason, your thoughts?
It can be, depending on whether you're talking good or bad. I think it could be either.
In this case, it's bad.
Well, in this case, it is. Yeah.
Question of the week last week.
Do we have to update the chart now?
Yes. Get your predictions in now. Will Estelia go free to play? If so, how long until it does? Why or why not? Either way. Jason, can you take the first one here? Because I feel like I have to read the second because it was hysterical.
It's not like you couldn't have put these in a different order, but whatever.
Oh, did I accidentally? Yeah, I accidentally brought up Q's lower third on one of your shots there. So that was
okay.
I was wondering why you were way zoomed in.
Yeah, okay, anyway. Breckner Catalan says, "With Classic WoW launching soon, I don't think there's going to be much room for games like Estelia, even as free-to-play."
And that is a great point that we didn't even think about when we were talking about this last week.
If regular WoW existing,
right, if Estelia's going for that nostalgic feel, just go play WoW Classic. The House Always Wins says, I laughed out loud, literally, when I read this and was putting it in the notes. As someone currently playing the closed beta of Estelia, I was shocked to hear from Mike that this thing wasn't free to play. It's a beautiful game with gorgeous graphics. It's all right. But the gameplay is very old school MMORPG, and I don't see that appealing much in today's market. As for when it goes free to play, I'll give it the same time frame as Bless Online, about 4 to 5 months. Although this game didn't have Bless's massive hype behind it, so it may be free to play even sooner. I read that and I was like, that is awesome. Could you imagine, like, oh, cool, I got a closed beta game. Oh, cool, there's a new cast up. I'll put that on the background. Be playing my new closed beta, checking this out. Oh, it's kind of old school, but it's all right. It's cool. Did he just say this shit I'm playing ain't free to play?
Why would I pay for this?
Gotta love it. All right, for the question of the week this week, would you want your favorite MMO ported to a mobile device? I gave you my answer. Jason said he's willing to experiment, but you know, whatever. Or are you just satisfied like I am with playing on your PC or on your console forever? Let us know your thoughts on why or why not in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs. D-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad, or your question for the panel. Put it in there, and we'll be sure to take it on next week's show. Until then, Jason, where can everybody find you?
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/Jason Winter. I'm confused.
I'm not switching to Mixer. Good.
No,
All
not
right.
switching to Mixer, no.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there on Twitter at magicman1, but more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so I can tweet at you all the latest articles, giveaways, first look videos, free-to-play cast, free-to-play weekly, and so much more. Thank you so much for chilling with us for an hour or so, and until next week, gang, stay safe. We'll see you out on the servers.